welcome to the Rob Burgess Show. I am, of course, your host, Rob Burgess. On this, our 169th episode, a returning guest is Jonathan Fowler. You first heard Jonathan Fowler on episodes 2, 10, 20, 21, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, 43, 48, 51, 56, 64, 74, 83, 92, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 111, 114, 115, 116, 119, 126, 127, 133, 137, 140, 146, 147, 149, 153, 156, 158, 160, 162, 164, 167, 168, and episode 82, which also featured fellow regular guest Ash Burgess of the podcast. Jonathan graduated with a BA in history from Indiana University in 2006. He is an unabashed left-wing political junkie. He has lived and worked in South Korea for over 10 years, trying to help the citizens of that great nation hopefully talk pretty one day. A quick programming note. This is the third of 3 episodes which were recorded before the pandemic began in the United States, and the Democratic presidential debates were still going. My plan was to drop in original audio between our conversation, but then everything happened. I was concerned these would be lost episodes, but luckily, since time is now a flat circle, you're free to enjoy this conversation, though without the original audio clips. And now on to the show.
Happy Super Tuesday to you.
Yeah, I guess it's starting now, huh? The end of the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
We don't know where we're going here.
Definitely. Are you on a headset right now?
Yep.
Can you go back to the way you were?
The way we were. Hold on. Okay. Hello?
Hello? Yeah, that's actually a lot better.
Huh. Okay, that's going to be a problem because part of my strategy today was to take brief notes on Post-it notes and then read through the the thing on my smartphone while I'm talking.
No. Go ahead. I can still hear you fine. Go ahead and put it back on then. So.
No, I can wait for a little while. Actually, it's
okay.
Yeah, it comes up later. I took like 5 or 6 pages of regular notes and then I switched over because I got I was going crazy. So I switched to Post-it notes. Thank you, Amy Klobuchar.
Yeah, right, from Minnesota, right?
Yeah. Yeah, without the great ingenuity in your state that you fostered, I'm sure we would have never had these brilliant little rectangles of color.
And you can go to amyklobuchar.com. Oh, wait.
Yeah, she should sell some Amy Klobuchar Post-it notes or something on there.
Mm-hmm. Well, they'd be Joe Biden at this point, right? But
oh, yeah, she's done. Yeah, so a lot of stuff has happened. I was, I guess, that the DNC pressure must be real because, like, to have Amy and Buttigieg, like, drop out right before Super Tuesday is crazy. I mean, I understand a couple things. I think I understand that neither one of them wanted to have a loss on their records, right? Although I think Amy Klobuchar's got her first loss, so thank God we never actually have to hear her say that thing about how she's never lost an election anymore because she just dropped out. So, but I think Pete Buttigieg was imprimatur upon. I don't know if that's a word.
Sounds right.
Something like that. Yeah, it was put upon him that he needed to drop out before he got himself embarrassed again on Super Tuesday in several states if he wants to have a national profile in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, though, because he did end up winning Iowa, not by a lot, but he squeaked it out, so.
Popular vote?
Delegates, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, okay. I think it was going to get embarrassing for him there pretty soon, but I think that they're. Yeah, I don't know. Don't get me started right now. Don't get me started on it. I've been reading the news, off and on all day, and I've seen so many like think pieces and things on Twitter where like Warren supporters are like, oh, don't get me started. It's getting bad. It's like Joe Biden is getting the centrists to coalesce around him. And all I see on Twitter today is like Warren supporters like, we're not actually political pundits. We shouldn't have to think about what it means if we support our candidate, right or wrong, whether she can win or not anymore. We don't have to think 2 moves ahead. of what it means that if we vote for her right now and don't encourage her to drop out and support Bernie, that that we're basically handing this thing on a silver platter to Joe Biden to lose in November.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Klobuchar, Buttigieg, I think I saw Beto O'Rourke are all throwing their weight in with Joe Biden.
Really?
We'll see what it does for him tomorrow.
Beto?
Yeah, whatever.
Wow. I hadn't heard from Beto lately.
Yeah, nobody had. So. But yeah, I don't know, I don't know what Elizabeth Warren is trying to prove, and
Yeah, what do you think that's about? Like, there's no way it's gonna happen, right? I mean, she hasn't even come in the top 3 in the last races, right?
I think she's mostly been polling around 4th or 5th in various places, and I think our boy may be about to embarrass her in her own home state, so maybe that's what needs to happen. But it's like, it's I have my theories about what it's about with her, and more what it's about with her supporters than what it's about with her. But I don't know. I think, oh God, I think that there's certain kinds of voters who, it's more important for them to get a woman into office than it is to actually, stand by any of the values that Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders actually share, 80% of or something.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd rather keep backing this losing campaign for a couple more days or weeks, and throw the whole next 4 years away to centrist Democrats or Donald Trump, depending on how that goes, rather than coalesce around a candidate who can win. And I don't know. I've heard seen all kinds of stuff online today about various things. Don't ask us to drop out. We're not, we can vote for whoever we want to. Yeah, that's true, but it's not smart. It's like, then don't ever complain about Bernie supporters who didn't vote for Clinton in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were just exercising their democratic rights. They can do whatever they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And don't come at me with that either, because I voted for Clinton. So, But I don't know. It's a toxic environment.
Yeah, it's bad. It's so upsetting that, the other side can coalesce so easily. And I'm not even just talking about Republicans. I'm talking about mainstream Democrats too. It's like,
I'm not even going to say it was easy. I can't imagine what kind of pressure was brought to bear on Klobuchar and Buttigieg to make them both drop out at the same moment. But
and support the same person. It's interesting to watch this debate and know that's how it's going to turn out, with all the sniping between the two of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that moment in Mortal Kombat, the original 1995 movie, where Shang Tsung is like, this is Scorpion and this is his arch rival Sub-Zero, but under me they work together because that's just how much power I have. I don't know if you could drop audio of a movie in there, that'd be amazing, but I don't know. Bob, I'm starting to think, we don't worry about demonetized or takedowns on YouTube. I think just focus on the podcast and just drop in whatever audio we want.
Guerrilla radio style.
Yeah, fuck it, man. They can't arrest us both.
Yeah,
because I'm outside the country.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, outside extradition. Actually, I think they do extradite from South Korea.
Yeah, and actually, I've got some good news. Well, some bad news and some good news, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's unfortunately some members of my family are having some health difficulties at this point, and but long story short, it looks like I'm going to probably be coming back to America in April for 1 month.
Oh, no kidding. That's when our new baby's coming, so he'll be right there to help us out when the baby comes out. You're up for the midnight feedings and the 2 a.m. feedings and all that, right?
I could try to, I don't know, feeding or changing a diet. Well, I can't feed the thing, but I don't know. Do you guys got bottles?
Oh yeah. No, they have those things where you can put. What is that thing, Ash? Where you put it on and the man pretends like he's breast.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
They have bottles that are shaped like nipples, so you can actually get in on the
Treats
fun.
treats objects like women. Like, we're dude.
Exactly. Well, that's awesome though. Yeah, you're definitely welcome here. We got a really nice couch, so.
Sweet. Yeah. I don't want to be, I wouldn't want to be underfoot too much. It sounds like you guys are going to have a lot going on, but on the other hand, I've never experienced the miracle of childbirth, so.
Well, I don't
So
know if
I
Ash
can
is
go
gonna let
either
you in the
way.
room, but if you're here during the right time in April, you may be here for all that. So.
Yeah.
If the stars align.
Yeah. Well, wow. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Well, I'll
Cool.
definitely see if I can get up there at some point, and maybe we can like record a live podcast, or maybe even like do some video content for people or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'd be fun. So.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, so I'm incredibly frustrated. We'll see what happens right now. I mean, up until this point, everybody's been saying, 538, everybody's been saying this is, Bernie's the front runner, and after Super Tuesday, he may become the prohibitive front runner. Now, I don't know if he's going to become prohibitive with the way that they're doing this full court press, but he's had the advantage recently, and that may be shifting right now, but this may be one of the last pieces of resistance here before I don't know. We'll see. It could go different ways.
Now, is the 538 model that he would win a majority of the delegates, or would it be that he's just to win a plurality?
I think they're mostly talking about the plurality, but I think they have said that, I don't know. They've said all kinds of things. I followed a kind of a fake, what's his name? Silver.
Oh, Nate Silver.
Yeah. Something like Nate Livers or something. I forget what it's called. It's some sort of a, spoof thing, but they've really captured his voice. And he's like, I don't know. They've had some pretty funny tweets and stuff about, even if Bernie comes out with a prohibitive lead on Super Tuesday and it's literally impossible for anybody to match him, and he gets to the convention, well, then he just has to find a path to the White House. This kind of thing. He still has to find a path to White House. I can't do it justice, So, all right. Well, so here we are, the 9th Democratic debate.
Actually, this was my favorite debate. I like this one the best of any of them that we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, there was some fun stuff. It was a little bit free form.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I heard the next one though that we're gonna watch is the one that is the real free form with apparently the moderators
shouting matches.
Yeah, completely stepped aside for that one. So, but yeah, there was a lot of crosstalk in this one too. So.
Yeah. And I will say, people, Warren supporters may have already tuned out or whatever, but I will give her due. She was just on an absolute rampage at this debate. And I will say, if she were my candidate and stuff, and, here we are 2 weeks later or something, and people are telling her to drop out, I wouldn't be wild about it either. But, I mean, it's a question. And of course, they're going to say, oh, well, Bernie supporters supported him long past viability in 2016. I don't think
Bernie won some states before that also, I'd like to point out.
Yeah, he won a lot of states, and he made up like a 40-point gap from no name recognition to within a I don't know what a small thing would be here to even mention. But yeah, he at any point he had a better chance, I think, than what Warren has right now. And I think anybody who doesn't acknowledge that is playing games. But like
Chuck,
I said,
according to Twitter, everybody supports Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, it's just weird that there's like this, I don't know, what is it, like 85% that doesn't.
Yeah.
Let alone the Republicans.
So, they're the ones that are wrong, really, if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's magical thinking or something at this point. But, and I don't know what they think's going to happen. Do they think, They think that she's going to throw this thing to Joe Biden at the convention, and somehow the superdelegates are going to come back and say her. I don't think so. That's not how this goes.
Yeah, if they're not going to say Bernie, they're not going to say her either. So.
Yeah. And then the other talking point is, well, I don't know. They had the Bernie supporter at her rally or something, or her town hall or whatever recently, and he said, something about the superdelegates, and why are you trying to like make this go to a contested convention or something? She's like, well, you just aren't familiar. Like, he in 2016, this was actually what he fought for. He wanted to have it this way, but now he changed his mind. Oh, he's the hypocrite. It's like, no, he didn't. He didn't want to have any superdelegates after 2016.
Yeah.
And this was the closest concession he could possibly get out of the Tom Perez and the DNC or whoever was running it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And, so to say that like, that's like saying like, somebody working for minimum wage, well, all they really want to earn is $8.75 an hour or $7.75, whatever it is right now. It's like, that's all they want. I mean, they took the job. So that's the wage they demanded.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. There's a power imbalance there. You get the best you can negotiate for, but that doesn't mean that's what you want or even what you asked for.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's, I mean, I see people on Facebook and Twitter today like, it's not fair. We're not pundits. We shouldn't have to think this hard about what the ramifications of our vote is. We just want to, vote for the candidate we like. And to be fair, probably a podcast or two ago, I told people, vote for who you want. Don't try to outgame the system and try to second guess everybody else what they're going to do.
Right.
But at this point, it's becoming pretty clear what's going to happen. If you support this candidate, then they're going to try to run it into the convention in a way that they can steal it from the person who actually gets the plurality of votes, most likely.
Right. Well,
this isn't a hypothetical or a theoretical anymore. This isn't this isn't the point of the election where you can do whatever you want. This is the point where you actually have to start thinking strategically.
Yeah, exactly.
And frankly, if Warren had held on to her lead that she had there for a little while, where she was right up there around 25% with Joe Biden, then, you and me would be singing the blues and biting our tongue and figuring out how we're going to, bring ourselves to vote for Warren. And we would be there.
Absolutely. I would be there. There's no question in my mind. Like,
if these positions were reversed, like, I think I'm a reasonable enough person to say that I would find my way around to it. So.
Oh, absolutely. I would have of all the other candidates, I would have the easiest time making that transition. So that would not be difficult. So,
yeah, it's a hard one. So, okay. So the 9th Democratic debate, the NBC News, MSNBC Democratic debate in Las Vegas, Nevada, hosted by Lester Holt, Chuck Todd, Haley Jackson, Vanessa Uck, and John Walston, who I guess is the local contributor from a local Nevada thing. Nevada. I don't know how they want us to pronounce it.
I know they always are saying that we're saying it wrong, so I'm always afraid to say the state. So.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. It's weird. It's whatever. It's weird, people from some countries probably they can't imagine coming from a country where you have 50 states and you're not entirely sure how to pronounce several of their names. It's a sad state of affairs. Okay. Well, so our candidates this time, our participants this time were Bloomberg, Warren, Sanders, Biden, Buttigieg, and Amy Klobuchar. Let me grab a seat here and see what's going on. Let's see. So I think the first question was something about why Sanders and not Bloomberg. Sanders says stop and frisk. Again, a lot of times I'm going to start summarizing these things. I don't actually feel like reading everything out for
well,
every single
especially if
answer.
I'm going to do the clip, it doesn't need to be. Yeah, I can.
Mm-hmm.
I could just handle the transcription the other way there. So.
Yeah, the difficulty is it's hard to respond to what they said if we actually don't have it,
True.
right in our mind. That's the difficulty.
Absolutely.
I think, like, I don't know. I'm thinking about process and stuff. If we were doing this thing live or something, like, a lot of these things, like, the Young Turks and Majority Report and stuff like that, they have people there who play the clip for them, and then they can pause at any time and comment on the clip as they please. And I think that is a real, winning formula in a way, but we obviously don't have any way to, effectuate that right now.
Interns, if you're listening, get at me if you want to work for free.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Great exposure.
Yeah, that's what we can offer perhaps now. All right. Mayor Bloomberg said that there's no chance of Sanders beating Trump. Yeah, you can't say you're going to take away the insurance plans loved by 160 million people. No chance of Sanders beating Trump. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. He's got the best chances according to the polls. Yeah. You've got no chance. And, it's this Republican talking point, because once again, Michael Bloomberg's a Republican. Okay. Mm-hmm. Take away the insurance plans of 160 million people that they love. They love their private insurance. Come on. Ridiculous.
I think they liked being able to go to certain doctors and hospitals. I don't think anyone is actually loving the insurance itself.
Yeah. Well, I think under
because isn't that the fear? But isn't that the fear that I won't get to see my doctor or whatever? It's not like, oh, I won't get to see the guy from Anthem. It's like nobody cares about that.
Well, I think and part of that is probably part of the Obamacare rollout is probably why that's even a talking point right now, is because famously you always say, like, you tell a Trump supporter, well, he's told 16,000 lies so far that we've documented, and they're like, yeah, but Obama lied too, and you're like, okay, name one. They're like, well, he said you could keep your doctor, but then you couldn't. Oh, okay.
Stop.
And yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like, okay, there's one lie, and it's a lie. Was it a lie? I mean, through the negotiation with the Republicans, he wasn't able to get everything he wanted, and and of course, Republicans were trying to gum up the machine the whole time and make the thing unpalatable to people. I don't know. I just don't get me started. It's exasperating. I'm getting myself started, perhaps. Elizabeth Warren came right in. She's coming in hot here. She says, a billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg. He's hiding his tax returns, harassing women, supporting racist policies, redlining and stop and frisk. And she says, look, I'll support whoever the Democratic nominee is, but understand this. Democrats take a huge risk if we just substitute one arrogant billionaire for another. It's like, whoa. That's the third person talking of the whole night. It's like, wow.
Yeah, as much as we just said bad about Elizabeth Warren, I did appreciate her in this debate, for sure.
Yeah. So. Throughout the debate, and I think you'll find, like, she was actually much more effective at just, I don't know what the word you even use, like what superlative you even use, just like smashing the hell out of Bloomberg every time he popped his head up and stuff. And Bernie Sanders got into some protracted back and forths with him and stuff, but I will say he was not as effective against Bloomberg. Now, I'm not sure that people say, well, that's why she should be the president. She'll do it to Trump too. I don't think she will. I think she's weak against Trump, and I think Bernie's strong against Trump. But for whatever reason, at this debate, I think she was strong against Bloomberg, and Bernie was kind of at his level, not as effective at taking him down, but certainly not being taken down by him either. So,
I mean, he definitely served as the perfect foil for for Elizabeth Warren in that debate. So I think that was a case where it was like the hammer meet nail, basically.
Yeah.
And he never really, like, I just kept thinking throughout this debate that he was just somebody that isn't used to being contradicted or told he's wrong or in any way challenged on any of his views. So
Yeah. I would actually love to have been a fly on the wall of his debate prep going into this debate, and then his debate prep before the second debate, and just be like, you guys are all a bunch of sycophants and yes men. I want you to, I look like a dumbass up there. It's all your fault. Or maybe, maybe they had been trying to tell him, like, look, we got to go hard on you. And he's like, no, come on. Just take it easy on me or whatever or something. And then they're like, okay. Yeah, that last check for $1 million cleared. So whatever you want. And then when he looks like an ass on TV, I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking, but he did not seem super prepared for what was coming his way.
Mm-mm.
Maybe there was no preparing for it, though.
Yeah.
Klobuchar said, we need high voter turnout, which I did. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You got high voter turnout in your state. Now, I would have, if I were one of the candidates, I'd have questions. Does that state have higher voter turnout? What are the turnout patterns in her state like compared to nationwide or other states? Mm-hmm. Is it really all about her, or is it just that, her state has something like that? I don't think, I would just about bet my life that if she were the candidate, she would not have a similar effect nationwide. You
don't believe that the clomentum is real?
The clomentum is, I don't know, trying to push, Biden's broken down jalopy right now. That's what's happening with the clomentum. So
I did notice, we're probably going to get to it later, but did you hear her shout out to the Yang Gang?
Oh, geez. Nice try, Amy. Yeah. And she did it. And she said, if my friend, Andrew Yang were here, and he's really good at math, he's Asian, she even called out to it. I know he made those jokes. He can make those jokes, but come on, Amy. I don't know that you can make those jokes.
You can't be second person self-deprecating.
Yeah, so even her call out to Yang was kind of like, I don't know. And yet, and it's hilarious in a way, because I'm sure there were some Yang supporters who were like, oh yeah, okay, hey, there's somebody actually still paying him respect on the stage. Okay, I like that. I'll vote for her. Boom, like a week later she's out. It's like, okay. Congratulations, you excited part of the Yang Gang for about a week, maybe. She said something about Mayor Bloomberg. Internal memo said that 3 of us should step down to pave the way for him, and she doesn't like that. She's not going to do that. Okay, but she did now, and as did Buttigieg, and I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Okay, Bloomberg says he's a mayor, he's an organizer, he's a philanthropist, he's a New Yorker who can take on Trump. Right. What's that saying? I always butcher the saying, but don't try to wrestle a pig in the mud, because the pig likes to get dirty and he's got more experience down there.
Well, you get dirty and the pig likes it, I think. Isn't that what it is?
I think, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
so I don't believe
phrase,
that Bloomberg has a business to represent. Bloomberg has a reputation that he's probably happy with or something.
Yeah.
He does not want to get in there with Trump and really, go blow for blow in the shit slinging mess that Trump, I don't know. I just think, like, when they were complaining before Mayor Bloomberg was going to come on the debate stage, and everybody's saying, I don't think he should be able to buy his way into this debate. It's ridiculous. People of color aren't on stage and now he is. It's not fair. In a way, I felt like all that protesting from Warren and Sanders was, in a way, it was kind of like Brer Rabbit, It's like, no, don't throw me in the briar patch. Oh, it'll hurt, it'll sting. And he's like, I'm born and bred in the briar patch. It's kind of like, oh, don't give us Michael Bloomberg at the debate. Oh, we wouldn't like that. Boom. Welcome to hell, bitch. We hear you call lesbians horse faces. And now I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me. Your billions of dollars can't help you here.
Oh my. Yes, exactly.
We're going to take the fight to them. I like to fight. I've been fighting my whole life.
When your mama and daddy and your three brothers
Yeah, three brothers in the military. I fought them all. I don't care.
It's really like I was in the military. If you think about it, I fought them all. they were in the military, so
Yeah.
kind of the same.
Yeah, I saw an audio clip from somebody who was apparently, I don't know if this is true, and I haven't double checked it. Maybe you can look into it. There was a left-wing feminist university professor who was teaching at the university that Amy or Elizabeth Warren was attending, and Elizabeth Warren was one of these annoying brats apparently back in the day who was trying to get liberal college professors taken out of the classrooms or something, allegedly. Okay, I'm not sure this is true. There's like a 3-minute video audio clip of this woman talking, and she is apparently a professor, a respected professor, left wing, and she said that, you know, she and other liberal professors' left wing curriculum were edited partially at the behest of Elizabeth Warren as a Republican university student, like what, back in the 70s or something. 70s, 60s, I don't know. I'd have to do the math on that. Whatever. Okay. Biden says Joe Biden is the best equipped to beat Donald Trump, and that's what your poll said. He's saying that this is your poll, NBC News. And he said, Barack Obama, the Obama administration tried to send in a mediator to reduce stop and frisk, but Mayor Bloomberg said it was unnecessary. Okay, Pete Buttigieg says, we could wake up after Super Tuesday and the only candidates left standing will be Sanders and Bloomberg, the two most polarizing figures on this stage. And most Americans don't see where they fit if they've got to choose between a socialist who thinks that capitalism is the root of all evil and a billionaire who thinks that money ought to be the root of all power. Let's put forward somebody who is actually a Democrat. And then there were kind of like mixed oohs and cheers from the crowd when they realized he was calling out Bernie right there.
Right.
Sanders responded, if speaking to the needs and the pain of a long neglected working class is polarizing, I think you got the wrong word. So that was fun. Let's see. And then Buttigieg said, in fact, you are the one who is at war with the culinary union right here in Las Vegas. And Sanders interjected, we have more union support than you have ever dreamed of. And I just want to like bookmark the fact that, you know, people, you know, Bernie got a lot of crap for fighting with the culinary union, and more specifically for having, you know, his Twitter supporters fighting the union, the culinary union in Las Vegas. And what happened in the election? The thing that people said before, the union leaders were against Bernie, but the union members were strongly in support of Bernie. So every time that they mentioned in the debate that he's fighting with the union, and they spent an inordinate amount of time on it, just remember that at the end of the day, he still had the support of that union. He just didn't have the support of the leaders.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Elizabeth Warren said, I was in, oh boy, my horrible handwriting strikes again. She says I was in Nevada holding banks accountable when Bloomberg was blaming black and brown people for the housing crisis, which, you know, I'm sure is true. They try to come at Bernie with you know, his Twitter people attacking the leaders of the union. And he said, I disown those people. They are not part of our movement. And he said, and he also pointed out, black women on my campaign are suffering vicious, racist, sexist attacks. And then Buttigieg, why is it especially the case among your supporters that you're attacking, you know, people? And he said, and let me say something else about this, not being too paranoid. All of us remember 2016, and what we remember are efforts by Russia and others to interfere in our election and divide us up. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but it would not shock me. I saw some of the tweets regarding the Culinary Workers Union and da 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 da. It goes on, but he's basically throwing that out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget if it was this debate or the one before it or the one after it, where they, a couple of days after the debate, they revealed that, the Russian intelligence building.
Mm-hmm. The FSB.
Yeah, that's the organization. The Kremlin or whatever. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's the word I'm looking for. They're pushing Sanders and stuff, and he disavowed it, which is what he should do, which is what Trump should have done but couldn't do, wouldn't do. But I think he's got a point. The FBI or somebody had already briefed him on this before the debate, and they said, yeah, these guys are trying to help you, and so he knows that, but he can't disclose it during the debate because
classified.
It's classified. So
right.
They've kind of got him over a barrel there, and all he can do is disavow any support. But he may already know that, hey, not everybody on Twitter who claims to be supporting Bernie Sanders is an actual American voter supporting Bernie Sanders. Some of them are, Russian disinformation bots. And I know that's not a popular thing to say on the left wing, media analysis, thing right now or whatever. But, I think when the history of this period is written, it'll be found to have been true.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think both things can be true, that, they do support him, but it's also the fact that he doesn't reciprocate their support, unlike Trump, and I think that's a major difference. And I think that it flattens everything to say that I don't like this disingenuous criticism of Bernie that he's exactly like Trump, because, like you said, is like he has some online supporters that might not be, real people, or all these little points that they pick out, and it's like, but is he encouraging it? Does he welcome it? Does he secretly have some, is there a Bernie Sanders tower going in Moscow? I don't think so. So it's like, it's not the same thing. So
yeah. And I think we have to remember that I don't think that Vladimir Putin wants Bernie Sanders to be the president.
No, he wants to help Trump.
Yeah, that's his end goal. So if he's trying to do anything right now, what he's really trying to do is create chaos in the Democratic primary, which he may very well be doing. I don't know, I'm not sure how unhinged the establishment would be by Bernie being the front runner under normal circumstances without outside interference. But, I think I think if you pretend that that's not also going on, and that's not actually the motivation, you're being, willfully naive. So, and, there are similarities. Yeah. Trump was actually popular, with Republican base people. I mean, and I mean base people in every which way.
Of course.
So, but that's because, he was saying the things that all the milquetoast Republicans didn't want to come out and say. He was openly racist, openly sexist, openly, America first and everything. And Bernie Sanders is actually popular and loved by his own supporters because, again, he's saying things that, a lot of Democrats want to say something that sounds similar to, but they don't actually want to commit to actually doing anything of the sort. And, real recognizes real sometimes.
Exactly.
It's just like, that doesn't mean that they're going to be equally bad presidents by any stretch of the imagination. So.
I do think the larger phenomenon has some kind of parallels as far as, we have the establishment of the party. This whole thing with Joe Biden kind of reminds me of, do you remember near the end of the Republican primary season in 2016 how they were all like, oh, then if Kasich voters in this state can vote for Marco Rubio, and then Marco Rubio's people can vote for Kasich in this state, and then we can deny Trump the majority of delegates. And it's like, when you're talking about this shuffling around and trying to combine supports to like stop one juggernaut candidate who's actually, like you said, popular, you're already losing. It's obvious that Bernie is the nominee, and if the Democrats are smart, they'll ride that. Actually, it's like, how do you screw this up, Democrats? You finally find somebody popular, finally somebody that people are excited about, and
Yeah.
you'd want to do everything you can to stop him. I'm not saying he has to be the guy, but look at the scoreboard. Like look at the diverse group he's got. And by the way, maybe the fact that he's got more people fired up and more people excited about his campaign is the reason that there is some riffraff in there, and it's maybe because he's so popular that you can't help but have some riffraff. It's a thing. People are attracted to things because they're a thing. That's real.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe that is a sign that this is actually, there is like Bernie Sanders momentum out there, and then maybe you should ride that wave instead of fighting it.
Yeah.
It's upsetting
And
to see. So.
And I've heard Warren supporters recently saying things like, oh, well, maybe Bernie isn't actually even winning the Democratic primary, because actually we've seen that some Republicans are talking about going into the Democratic primary in states where it's allowed to vote across party and vote for Bernie because they think they can beat him. It's like, I don't think people really do that. Maybe some people do, but not enough to swing an election, I don't think, or put him in first place. And number two, I think they're ascribing a pretty cynical motivation to the fact that actually Bernie Sanders actually, polls reasonably well amongst, Republicans, even Trump supporters. Like, I don't like socialism. I don't want to be a goddamn communist and stuff, pinko red and all this stuff. But Bernie means what he says. He's an honest guy. I respect it in a way, And so I think there is some legitimate, cross-party support for the guy. I think there are people who responded to Trump's populist message who would have responded. This is one of the central things of the 2016 election. He would have been appealing to people who went a very bad way the other way, but they could have been brought to go a decent way. But DNC couldn't have that. So, whatever. I don't know. We're never going to finish this podcast, Bob. Okay.
Yeah, let's get back to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like we ought to. I don't know. I don't want to repeat myself too much over too many podcasts, which I'm sure we do, but I don't know. Sometimes I just want to talk politics, not just only the debates though, because like there's so many things going on. It's really hard to stay focused.
After we get through this one, we just got one more, and then we're totally caught up. And then I think there's only one more happening, maybe in a couple of days. But
I think if I put myself through another 2.5 hour monstrosity, I will be weakening my immune system to the point that the coronavirus will just come and take me right then and there.
Be like Livia Soprano. I wish the Lord would take me.
Yeah, indeed. Oh boy. I've been watching the Godfather movies here over the weekend for some reason.
Oh yeah, how was it?
Good. I don't know. Frankly, they weren't as good as I remembered. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like I've seen better. I don't know. I mean, a lot of it is just very, very, very like soap opera like style kind of melodrama, just like, just really dramatic pronouncements and stuff, and people who are just ridiculously smart, like, the one who doesn't show is the one who betrayed you. Well, how can you be sure? No, I'm just so mafia wise. I just know that's the case. Our enemy has yet to reveal himself. Yes. Oh. Wow. And at this point here, never mind. Don't get me started. Actually, I never watched the Godfather 3.
Mm-hmm.
I never watched it before because for some reason people were saying it was like terrible compared to the other two and stuff. And so for some reason I just didn't watch it and stuff. But I've actually started watching it, and it's interesting. It's kind of freaking hilarious because, the director, Francis Ford Coppola, cast his own daughter in this role as Michael's daughter and stuff. And then he has this bizarre plot line where she was like molested by her 15-year-old cousin, cousin, when she was 8 years old, and now she has a thing for him, and Michael Corleone knows about it, and he's just kind of, you got to stop going after my daughter. It's dangerous. This forbidden love is too dangerous. It's not like, stay the fuck away from my daughter, you perverted freak, and I'm gonna kill you now because I'm a mafia don. Did you forget? It's like, oh, it's dangerous for you to be pursuing my daughter. And when did this begin? Like normal questions that a normal dad would have, he's not asking. And I'm just like, how the hell did this, I don't know. It's weird.
It is weird. I didn't, I remember, now that you mentioned that, I remember that storyline, but I just totally forgotten about that.
Yeah, I haven't finished the movie yet because this fucking debate, Bob. But I'm curious to see where it goes. Probably nowhere good. But
Yeah.
like, it's just a weird. Just a really weird like. And people complain about her acting, and there were one or two scenes where she was kind of like a little bit wooden, I would say. But to be fair to her, the writing is bizarre. This whole scenario is totally bizarre. And there are scenes in the movie where I buy her as the daughter. And then there are scenes where I don't really see it, but whatever. It's it's a melodrama, mafia soap opera. So, okay, where were we? Sorry, Bob. Between pissing off the Warren supporters and pissing off the Godfather fanboys, I don't think I have any friends left out there right now.
just Bernie supporters that don't really like quality movies, I guess. That's all we have left.
Yeah, the dirtbag left, I guess. Well, and probably most of them love The Godfather, actually. So, whatever. Okay. Okay. So let's see. All right. So why? Yeah. Okay, so Bernie had just said that, basically, hey, he floated the idea, hey, there are Russians still out there. Some of them are, pumping up my campaign online with outrageous attacks on, other people in the field. So just be aware of that. And then Amy Klobuchar gets in some bizarre stuff here. She says, I've got an idea of how we could stop sexism on the internet. We could nominate a woman. I'm just gonna let that sit there. We're going to end sexism on the internet by nominating a woman.
That will end it for once and for all.
Not with clunkers like that, Amy. Just like we did a bang-up job on racism by nominating a black man. Let's continue that strategy now.
Yes, exactly. We got the Tea Party last time. I can't imagine what would happen this time. I'm not saying it shouldn't happen, but let's not believe that it's going to end sexism online or anywhere else.
Yeah, Texas will probably nuke California is what will happen if we nominate a woman right now. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do it if there's a good candidate, or a candidate that is good and is not betraying her friends and is polling within the top like 2%, two people or something. But I'm saying like that's a pretty stupid reason to do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna end sexism by nominating a woman. Like, really, really.
Yeah.
This, come on. This is why, frankly, like clunkers like that is why people, these centrist Democrat squares get dragged so much on Twitter. Probably is because they just say stupid shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Klobuchar continues. Really, what is at the core of this issue between Senator Sanders and the culinary unions, and that I can't read what I wrote. Oh, God. And that is this. These are hardworking people, housekeepers, like Elizabeth and I met with last night, who have healthcare plans that jump. Okay, this is where she, she keeps going. These are the salt of the earth, and they don't support Bernie. And so, what does that say about him? And once again, I just want to draw listeners' attention back to the fact that when it actually came to the vote, the culinary union supported Bernie Sanders overwhelmingly. It's just their leadership that didn't, because they made some deal with the DNC, or somebody gave them some money, or I don't know exactly what it was, but something nefarious was going on there. But she's sitting here trying to say, like, Elizabeth Warren and I, we met with these salt of the earth and they don't like Bernie. Okay, well, let's see, let's judge it by the results. Who was right, who was wrong? I tried to tell my mom, because she's kind of on the Klobuchar thing and stuff. And I was like, Klobuchar just lies. Like, I was getting so mad when I was watching the debate the other day, because she was just lying like every sentence or something. She's like, I don't think she lied. When did she lie? And I'm like, I don't know, Mom. I've got 8 pages of notes, and I'm not going to try to drag through them and sort out the lies right now on the phone. But like, she does. And this is, Mom is not listening, but this is a case where you can say, this is an absolutely ridiculous thing. You're trying to claim that a candidate doesn't have the populist support that they actually do have, based on what the leadership of some company says, or not a company, but a union. And it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he still won Nevada, so apparently whatever the leadership did wasn't enough to sway the votes. So
Yeah. Well, not even that he won Nevada. Like I heard, a podcast. I forget if it was 538 or I forget if it was, Slate, one of the Slate podcasts or Vox. I'm not sure where it was, but they were at the site where most of the, they were basically at ground zero where most of that union was voting, and they had exit polls or whatever. And they said it was very clear that the rank and file of that union supported Bernie. So it's not even like he won Nevada. So it's not true that it's actually like they did, precinct specific reporting or whatever. And it was very clear that he had that support. Bernie Sanders gives a speech about, just one of his standard speeches that he gives. And he said, and I will never sign a bill that will reduce medical benefits, only expand it. Because, these people are lying on him again, saying he's going to take away their health care. He's going to kill that poor woman. Lebowski reference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, that one was a little bit more obscure, so thought I should note it.
Yeah,
okay.
Deep cut.
Yeah. All right. Elizabeth Warren says Mayor Buttigieg really has a slogan that was thought up by his consultants to paper over. Okay, this is a brilliant moment. Okay, this is a moment where Elizabeth Warren had this really interesting strategy. And again, I'm giving her credit here, totally. She had this really interesting strategy because, like so many times in these debates, people try to attack another person, but they don't really want to say the person's name, or they might say their name once and hope they don't catch it because they don't want to be attacked back. They don't want to get the response. And Elizabeth Warren's strategy in this debate at a couple points seemed to be name 2 or 3 people and insult them all, and then have like Chuck Trod trying to like play catch up. Like, okay, I think he mentioned you first, and I think you were second, so you can go third. Like, and these people would just all be responding directly to her. And so she really put herself at the center of a lot of fights that way. And actually, frankly, it was effective. I thought it was very effective. So interesting strategy there.
Yep. No, you can't confuse sleepy-eyed Chuck Todd that way, Chuck.
Yeah.
Isn't that his Trump nickname?
Yeah. I don't know. I can't keep up with all the nicknames. I don't know. He's a ridiculous person, though. He's a ridiculous human being. I almost want to like the guy in spite of myself, because I get the sense that back in the Bush era, he was just like a, kind of a numbers guy who was interested in politics, and gosh darn it, he was very, earnest or something. Weren't we all? We were young once, Bob, and soldiers or something, to paraphrase a book title. But but he just went the wrong way, and this meet the press thing was not what he should have gotten, I think. So so anyways, okay, so this is the one where Elizabeth Warren just basically like takes her flamethrower and starts swinging it back and forth with abandon, slowly, like making crispy critters out of several people. So that's the image I had. I had several bizarre images of Elizabeth Warren during this, just, how aggressive she was in this debate. Okay, so Mayor Buttigieg really has a slogan that was thought up by his consultants to paper over a thin version of a plan that would leave millions of people unable to afford their health care. It's not a plan, it's a PowerPoint. And Amy's plan is even less. It's like a Post-it note. Insert plan here. And then she said something about Bernie too. And I mean, she's just going from person to person, like you and you and you and you too. And I think this is the first time that like Amy Klobuchar had really been on the receiving end of, not the Elizabeth Warren, like, yes, queen, we will, we should have, I think the next president should be a she. Ooh, I said that. That felt really good to say that. This kind of like sisterhood thing.
Girl
so
power.
This is the first
girl power.
I mean, this is the first time Amy had to contend with like Elizabeth Warren actually attacking her on issues. And I think she was visibly taken aback several times. And stuff. It kind of took her a while to get her footing under her. So here she just attacked 3 people. And Chuck Todd says, Mayor Buttigieg, I think she name checked you first. I'll let you go first. And Buttigieg says, I'm more of a Microsoft Word guy than an Excel guy or a PowerPoint guy. So clever comeback. This idea that the union members don't know what's good for them is the exact kind of condescension and arrogance that da 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 da. He just keeps going. And again, it's another moment where it's like condescension to the union members. No, motherfucker. You heard from the union bosses and you're presuming to speak for the union members who have not yet made their vote known yet. So again, all these people are trying to claim that this one union is, going to do what it's not going to do. Whatever. And Bernie Sanders interjects. He says, can I get in there too? And he wants to respond to Elizabeth Warren because she attacked him too. And Chuck Todd says, well, I think the Post-it note came first there, so I don't know. And so then it went to Klobuchar next because she had, said that Klobuchar's plans were like a Post-it note. He said, well, I must say I take personal offense since Post-it notes were invented in my state.
Yeah, she's the
callback.
Yeah, right. She's the queen of remembering factoids, I feel like. She's got this little, things that she wants to get out. Like, she always memorizes the senators, whichever state she's debating in. My good friends, looking at card.
Yeah. I think we talked about last week or whatever, we talked about, like, she was name-dropping senators in the state that, and saying, Bernie voted against your good senators here in New Hampshire, but I voted with them. And it's like, boom. Bernie like 30%.
Yeah.
Amy like 5% maybe. I don't know. It's like apparently voting with those senators was not the thing that you needed to do to win the state.
Yeah, right.
So she says, so she takes personal offense. Then she says, my plan is a public option. And she says, since we're in Vegas, you don't put your money on a number that's not even on the wheel. Again, she's continuing this bizarre gambling metaphor that she had tried to do a couple debates ago in another way.
She's in Vegas, though, Cha.
Yeah. Yeah, she probably wishes what had happened in Vegas had stayed in Vegas. But okay. Okay, then Sanders said, it comes to Sanders, and then he's responding. He says something about Canada, UK, France, etc. All these countries can do it. Why can't we? Because of the healthcare industry, big pharma, etc. Joe Biden says, I get things done. I got things done. I have experience. Elizabeth Warren comes back and she turns on Buttigieg again. She says, Buttigieg, there are 4 expenses: premiums, deductibles, copays, and uncovered medical expenses. Your plan only covers premiums, leaving the other 3. Amy, your plan is 2 paragraphs. And Bloomberg comes back. In 2009, I was in favor of Obamacare. This is Bloomberg. In 2009, I was in favor of Obamacare. I didn't think it went far enough. Bernie and Biden are both scoffing at this point and kind of like shaking their heads, like they're like, no, this guy's full of shit. He was never for Obamacare until it was too late and stuff.
Right.
And then Bloomberg said, I think we should cap expenses on all of those things. The 4 things: premiums, deductibles, copays, and uncovered medical expenses that Warren had listed by name. He's just like, yeah, all of that. Yeah, we should cover those. Yes. He doesn't know what they are. He doesn't know the policy. To be fair, who really does, unless you're deep on the, maybe in 10 or 15 years I will be, but yeah. Let's see. Joe Biden comes back on Bloomberg and said, he said Obamacare was a disgrace. He says, I guess you've not got enough time to talk about it. I guess later we'll jump. So this is like another point where Biden is like, he's watching his own clock. He doesn't have to make the moderators do it for him. He'll let him know when his time is up.
It all depends on how much he wants to get to the end of the sentence or not. If he has more to say, he's like, I have more time.
Yeah, I would be terrified to be on a debate because, my lack of depth of knowledge in certain issues would be revealed. But actually, watching Biden, I'm inspired. I think maybe one day I really can be president.
Festivus for the rest of us.
You just have to forfeit your time whenever you don't want to talk anymore. Whenever you run out of talking points, you just say, hey, I know I'm pushing up on my time here. So, Okay.
Also use the remaining time that you have to note the lack of time that you have remaining. That always eats up a few seconds. So.
Yeah.
I noticed that I see the clock and I'm looking at it right now, and it appears to be approaching the end of my.
Yeah.
And there it is, time. Okay.
Yeah. Chuck Todd, time is a flat circle. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Just want to deal with that. Okay, so stop and frisk was our next topic. Now, Bloomberg did say that there were 650 murders a year when he took office, and then he said, and I thought that my first responsibility was to give people the right to live. That's the basic right of everything. And then he says that it was down to 300 murders per year by the end of it, I guess. And to be overwhelmingly, self-flagellatingly fair to this guy, I think it is a fair question to say, like, okay, yeah, this is a racist policy. It was a bad policy. But if you are a mayor of, a major metropolitan area where murder is a major problem and you want to reduce the murder, how do you go about doing it? It's kind of like, there's another issue like that I always want to ask people or something. That's like, okay, so you're the mayor on day one, and I guess you could give a long form answer like, well, you improve the economic prospects of entire regions that have been ignored for far too long, and yeah. But year on year, how do you reduce it right now? And it's unfortunate that he did this thing that targeted African American and Latin people, poor neighborhoods in New York City or whatever. It's criminal. It's wrong. It's bad. It sounds like a lot of people were traumatized by this who had nothing to do with, crime in the area.
Mm-hmm.
There are some results there. I don't know if that's entirely attributable to this thing. It'd be interesting to see what, economic factors other than that, what kind of social factors other than that were pushing the numbers of murders down potentially. But, it's a fair question. Like, if I were him, and I would not want to be him, and I don't think I would have instituted this policy, but I would say to anybody, hey, if you're the mayor of a town, which you weren't at that time, how would you have reduced the murder rate?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's an argument to be made, and it's not a very nice argument, but to say like, putting police in, downtown, like, I don't know, what's the Manhattan, maybe that's not where the murder is, and maybe that looks more fair to do that, but I had to deal with reality and budgets and this or that. I think that he could be making an argument there that he's not, and it doesn't really matter because he's not going to be the candidate anyways. But it's like, I think he could push back on that more, and I think that it is easy to criticize something when you don't have to fix it, right? Like, Barack Obama gets so much blame for the economy. It's like, okay, well, you've just been handed a huge debt, massive, real estate bubble that's just exploded right under your nose from the previous president. How would you have fixed it? Oh, well, I would have done this and that. Oh, well, if you did this and that, then this other thing would have happened. People, I don't know, people don't really spend enough time sometimes thinking about the thing that didn't happen. And I almost think this should all be edited out because I don't want it to sound like I'm defending stop and frisk, but I'm just saying I think that there are arguments that he could have made that he didn't make because it does look bad. It just looks bad, and it was a racist policy. So, and I don't know. It's a weird situation. It's kind of like, the whole thing with like, racial profiling at the airport, like, people complaining, there's the right-wing meme of like a granny being patted down by airport security and strip searched or something because they're like, well, we got to search for terrorists. And it's like, obviously this 80-year-old granny is not a terrorist, but the alternative is racial profiling. I don't know, what's in between those two things. There's got to be something in between there, but like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I'm sure if you violated everyone's Fourth Amendment rights, you'd probably find a lot of illegal things. But that it's like the fruit of the poisonous tree or whatever, though. So
yeah. I mean, that's why you can't countenance this really, because it is a self-perpetuating prophecy. If you start patting people down for guns, maybe you find some marijuana on them, and now they're a criminal, and now the crime rate is rising. Maybe the murder rate is going down, but people are getting caught with weed in this neighborhood where they're not being caught in the other neighborhood. Again, I'm not trying to defend the policy. I'm just saying, like, if you actually have a problem and you are actually personally responsible for fixing it, and maybe you're not the smartest person in the world, right? Like, you don't know what the actual good policy long term would be. I don't know. I'm just saying I can see how people make some bad decisions at times.
Right.
So, anyways, all that should be cut, Bob. All that should be cut.
This is going in your ever-growing compromat file that has been gleaned from the.
Yeah, I think I'm a reasonably smart guy, Bob. But by the time we're done with this podcast, I don't think I'll be able to run on any party's platform ever.
DNC is the least of your worries at this point.
Yeah, even the libertarians can be like, "Fuck that guy."
we're for a lot, but man.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, that was Bloomberg's response. Now, I'm just saying, it's a horrible thing. It's a racist policy. It was targeting people in a very unfair way. And I'm not saying the ends justify the means. This isn't an episode of 24, but 650 murders down to 300. That benefited some people in some way. I don't know. I don't know how you balance that. That's a hard thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
But it's wrong. The easy thing is just to say he's a racist scumbag, Republican, and asshole. And yeah, fair enough. That's all true too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Biden says, let's get something straight. The reason that stop and frisk changed is that Obama sent moderators to see what was going on. This idea that he figured out it was a bad idea, he figured, and then ... The idea when we sent in monitors and said it must stop. Even then, he continued the policy. Elizabeth Warren said some things, and then she said, "You need a different apology here, Mr. Mayor." Amy Klobuchar said, they asked her about, there were 24 officer shootings under her while she was a prosecutor, and none of them were prosecuted. And then they said there was one black teen who was sent to life in prison, kind of on shoddy evidence, and it's being challenged now. And the NAACP is calling on her to suspend her campaign, which, congratulations, now she has, I suppose.
Yeah.
And she says she welcomes new evidence. 3 people were involved in the death of an 11-year-old girl. And, it sounds pretty complicated. Again, I don't know. I don't know what the details of the case were. Just getting through these massive, debates is so hard. I can't run down. I'm sorry to say, I feel like as journalists we should do more, but I can't run down every detail of every claim or backstory to things.
That's Chuck Todd's job.
Yeah, well, he's not doing it either, so.
Well, I guess we did say journalists, but
Okay. I don't like the company we're in right now, Bob. Okay. The next topic was transparency. Sanders not releasing his medical records. Okay. And Bernie Sanders, excellently reframes this question. He says, first off, thank you, Nevada, for an excellent medical care. One thing I have in common with Bloomberg is that we both have 2 stints. And Bloomberg interjects 25 years ago. And he says, and it's a procedure that's done about 1 million times a year. Follow me around the campaign, 3, 4, 5 events a day. See how you're doing compared to me. So, I think the heart attack is kind of a non-issue.
I think it helps that he stands next to Biden, looking like the picture of health compared to Joe. It's like any criticisms of Bernie's health have to be tempered by the reality of Joe's eyeball exploding or whatever's happening at the moment. So.
Yeah. And well, there was an article by, I forget her name. I think she's an Indiana girl on Indiana Night. No.
Was her name Mary Jane? And
no.
Was it her last dance?
Amber Frost. She's one of the Chapo girls.
Oh, she's from Indiana.
Yeah, I believe so. And I think she's done some anti-fascist protesting in Bloomington, actually. So it'd be fascinating to talk to her someday.
Would this
But
be
she
at the
wrote,
farmer's market?
yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was reading an article she'd written in Jacobin magazine,
Okay.
and it was called "It's Still Bernie, Bitch," I think is the name of the article. And it was basically saying, yes, in 2016 we didn't get him through, but in 2020 he's still the candidate, basically. And she said people are going to say something like, he's 80 years old by the time his second term starts. And she says, but this guy like is so good that like, if he dies during the campaign, we're gonna like stuff sawdust up his ass and use our hands like puppets to make his mouth move until the election is over.
Oh my gosh.
It was an amazing passage.
Wow.
She's just like, I don't care if this guy dies on day one. We need to get him in there and get him and his presidency, his vice president, his policies, and so forth. And I don't think that that's totally wrong. It's like, it's an interesting. Go check the article or link to the article or something. It's wild. Do you ever listen to Chapo?
No, I know you've been talking about it. I know those guys have gotten in trouble here and there for being crass.
Yeah, they're entertaining. I like them. They're pretty funny sometimes. Sometimes the stuff's a little bit inside jokey, which is, I don't know, whatever. And they definitely like, when I see like Warren supporters crying about their treatment on Twitter, I imagine about 75% of it comes from Chapo Trap House.
Yeah.
They, I don't know. They are, they're interesting. They're interesting fellows, and the lady too. Mm-hmm. They're interesting people. So yeah, whatever. But so anyways, it's an interesting article. It's a wild article. It's kind of like almost like I don't know, what do you call it? Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because the Las Vegas debate. Got it.
No. The author.
Oh,
I'm blanking on his name.
Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah, it's almost Thompson-esque, I guess, the way she wrote this kind of. It's very gonzo, kind of like just, this is how much we're going to support Bernie. We're going to like, if he's dead, we're going to stuff him with sawdust and like move him like a puppet on the stage. It's like, wow, yeah, okay,
that's commitment.
yeah, that's. I think in a way, she's right.
Yeah.
I think a dead Sanders is better than a live Trump. That's what I could say.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Found our 2020 slogans here.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. It's an interesting article. I'll try to send it to you. You can like read it and let me know what you think. So
yeah.
Let's see. Pete Buttigieg says not good enough. We need to go back to the Obama standard of releasing our health reports. Trump has changed the standard to a doctor's note. I'm willing to get a physical and release the results. It's like, you're 38 years old and fresh out the military, Pete Buttigieg. Of course, you're excited to go do a physical and release the results. Nobody else on stage except for Amy Klobuchar shoots back later that she thinks she could beat him by blood pressure or something. Whatever. Let's see. Where are we at here? Okay, somehow they moved on to healthcare, I think. Sanders says, let's level. Pete, your plan is a maintenance continuation plan let's level, Pete. Your plan is a maintenance continuation of the status quo. Buttigieg says, on issue after issue after issue, this is what the Senator Sanders is saying. If you're not with him, if you're not all the way on his side, then you must be for the status quo. Which is, partially a fair criticism of Sanders, but I do think, like, come on, Pete, you named yours Medicare for all that won it, right? Come on, mm-hmm. You're clearly trying to like latch onto the popular phrasing that Bernie has done and use it for your own nefarious purposes, which is not Medicare for all in any stretch of the imagination.
Exactly.
They hit Bloomberg for not releasing his taxes, and he says, I can't go to TurboTax, and why he won't release all his taxes at this time. And Amy Klobuchar, she would release the physical, she would release her tax returns. And Bloomberg says, we're releasing them. They'll be out in a few weeks, and that's just as fast as I can do it. Remember, I only entered into this race 10 weeks ago. All of my associates here have been at this for a couple of years. And Pete Buttigieg says, he interjected, that's right, we've been engaging with voters. And Warren says, she started saying something, then she said, 10 weeks, jump. She said something, then she said 10 weeks because he's been in it for 10 weeks. And then she said, pay overtime and get your taxes done. And he said, I wish it were that simple. It would save me a lot of money. And then, okay, then we get on to the topic of sexual harassment. And let me just say that while you're listening to this, I think if you just imagine, let's just say that, I mean, if Bloomberg is any kind of a sadomasochist, or if he's a masochist, if he's at all into femdom, if he's all into any kind of like the
there's a picture
money
in my
extraction
head,
kink or something, where like you're a rich guy and some woman extorts your money from you and makes you pay her.
Pay pig, is that what it is?
Yeah, if he's got, I think a psychologist should examine the man and see if he's got any of that freaky shit going on. Because if he does, then he just got the ride of his life at this debate from Elizabeth Warren, let me tell you. So, because this is where it starts. They mentioned, let's see. They said, you said that's the way I grew up. And then you told one woman, I would do you in a second. And Pete Buttigieg says, oh, no, sorry, this isn't Buttigieg, this is Bloomberg. Look, let me say a couple of things, and if I can have my full minute and a quarter, thank you. I have no tolerance for the kind of behavior that the Me Too movement has exposed, except when I did it.
Yeah, right.
And anybody that does anything wrong in our company, we investigate it. And if it's appropriate, they're gone that day. You can't fire the boss. But let me tell you what I do at my company and my foundation and in the city government when I was there. In my foundation, the person that runs it's a woman. We got 70% of the people there are women. In my company, lots and lots of women have big responsibilities. They get paid exactly the same as men. And I'm thinking, wow, this sounds like a really target-rich environment. It's like, yeah, if you're a sexual harasser, it's awesome to have 70% of your staff be women. It's like, right. Wow, never a dull moment for you, I'm sure. Okay. And at this point, let's see. They say, okay, Senator Warren, you've been critical of Mayor Pete on this, or Mayor Bloomberg on this issue. And she says, yes, I have. And I hope you heard what his defense was. I've been nice to some women, and that just doesn't cut it. The mayor has to stand on his record, and we need to know it exactly. And what we need to know is exactly what's lurking out there. He has gotten some number of women. Dozens, who knows, to sign non-disclosure agreements, both for sexual harassment and for gender discrimination in the workplace.
Yeah, you really got pounded on this, and I think it was.
And he
really
liked it.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. And deservedly so. I think the point that really exposed the whole thing was like when you wouldn't even say how many, not getting into the details of what happened or what was just verbal or whatever, just the number. He couldn't even agree on the number, like how many people were out there with these agreements.
Yeah, well, he's been a bad boy and he needs to get his spanking here. So this continues, yeah. So she continues, yes. So, Mr. Mayor, are you willing to release all those women from the non-disclosure agreements so we can hear their side of the story? And he said, we have a very few non-disclosure agreements. How many is that? She interjects. Let me finish. How many is that? None of them accused me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like a joke I told. At this moment, they've kind of got the split screen, and Warren's face shifts from like outrage to a smirk or kind of a grin because she's got him now. He's like, none of them accused me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like a joke I told. It's like these crazy bitches are totally overreacting, right? It's like she's got him right where she needs him right then. So so he says, and let me put these would be comments between two parties, or these would be agreements between two parties that wanted to keep it quiet, and that's up to them. Ridiculous. they signed these agreements and we'll live with it. And Joe Biden introduced, come on. And then Elizabeth continues, so wait, when you say it, I just want to be clear, some is how many? And when you say that they signed them and they wanted them, if they wish now to speak out and tell their side of the story about it, if they allege that's now okay with you, you're releasing them on television tonight? And he's like, Senator, now, is that right? Senator, the company, and somebody else, in this case, a man or a woman, or it could be more than that. I'm thinking, nice. He's pandering to the transgender community, even in the midst of this Me Too fiasco moment. It's amazing. I'm really sure that Mike Bloomberg sexually harassed men and transgender employees as well as women at his companies. I'm sure he's very gender inclusive. He's very non-binary friendly.
No one is safe from my advances. Nobody. I'm totally equal.
Yeah, that's the dream. I think it's some people's mind. Oh boy. So he says, Senator, the company, and somebody else. In this case, it was a man or a woman, or it could be more than that. Let's see. They decided when they made an agreement that they wanted to keep it quiet for everybody's interest. At this point, Joe Biden interjects again, come on. And he's like, they signed the agreements, and that's what we're going to live with. And she's like, and no, the question is, are the women bound by being muzzled by you? And it was wild. It continues a little bit after that. Bob, at this point, I'm going to have to switch to my headpiece. Okay. Sorry if that results in a diminished audio quality, but
no, it's not that bad.
Okay. But yeah, at this point, I'm switching to sticky notes, and that means that I actually have to access the original chat log or the dialogue on my.
I hope you're phone. I hope you're happy, Amy Klobuchar.
Yeah. Okay. Hang 1 second. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yo, turn my headphones up. Moment of being a rapper here. Hold on, let me grab my papers. Oh, okay, let's see. This is where it gets complicated. Let's see if Amy Klobuchar's sticky notes are gonna pull their weight here. Okay. So Biden goes on attack on the non-disclosure agreements here. Let me see where I can find this. Sorry, Bob, this is all going to have to be edited because it's going to take a moment to get to this point in the chat. Okay, so Biden starts the attack here now. He says, look, let's get something straight here. It's easy. All the mayor has to do is say you are released from the non-disclosed agreement, period. We talk about transparency here. This guy got himself in trouble and he couldn't disclose what he did. He went to his company. Let's see. He went to the company, said, I want to be released. I want to be able to do it. Look, this is about transparency. Okay, so from the very beginning, whether it's your health record, whether it's your taxes, whether you have cases against you, whether or not people have signed non-disclosure agreements, you think that women, in fact, were ready to say, I don't want anybody to know about what you did to me. That's not how it works. The way it works is they say, look, this is what you did to me. And the mayor comes along with his attorney and says, I will give you this amount of money if you promise you'll never say anything. That's how it works. And they say, Mayor Bloomberg, final word to you. He says, I've said we're not going to end these agreements because they were made consensually and they have every right to expect that they will stay private. And Joe Biden says, if they want to release it, they should be able to release themselves. Say yes. Let's see. And Bernie Sanders says, in 2004, this is kind of getting off topic, but he says that everybody wants to talk about electability, but Mayor Bloomberg was supporting George W. Bush for president in 2004. He put money into Republican candidates for the United States Senate. When some of us, Joe and I and others, were fighting for Democrats to control the United States Senate. Let's see. Next important point I think was Klobuchar.
they asked her about forgetting the name of the Mexican president, Obrador,
Mm-hmm.
and she says, of course, of course. And I don't think that momentary forgetfulness actually reflects what I know about Mexico and how much I care about it. And I want to say greetings to President Lopez Obrador. And I think she kind of like messed up his name, his first name. Secondly, what I meant, the game of Jeopardy, is that I think we could all come up with things. You know how many members there are in the Israeli Knesset? 120. Who's the president of Honduras? She says Hernandez. And she says, when it comes to Mexico, I am the one person on this stage that came out first to say I was for the U.S. Mexican Canadian trade agreement. That is going to be one of the number of one duties of a president is implement that. We talked about that in the last debate, I think. Vanessa Hauk says, Senator Klobuchar, my colleague specifically asked you if you could name the president of Mexico, and your response was no. Yes, that's right, and I said that I made an error. I think having a president that maybe is humble and is able to admit that here and there maybe wouldn't be a bad thing. And they say, Mayor Buttigieg, your response. He says, yeah, look, I wouldn't liken this to a trivia. I'm actually didn't know how many members were in the Knesset. So the Knesset, I'm forgetting how to pronounce that one. So you got me there. She says, well, there you go. He says, but you're staking your candidacy on your Washington experience. You're on the committee that oversees border security. You're on the committee that does trade. You're literally part of the committee that's overseeing those things, and we're not able to speak to literally the first thing about the politics of the country to our south. And then she comes after, are you trying to say I'm dumb? Are you mocking me here, Pete? He's saying, I'm saying you shouldn't trivialize that knowledge. She says, I made an error. People sometimes forget names, especially if you're Amy Klobuchar. I am the one that has, number one, has the experience based on passing over 100 bills. Thank you, Senator. They're trying to wrap her up. And she says, if I could respond, this was a pretty big allegation. Quickly, please. He's basically saying that I don't have the experience to be president of the United States. I have passed over 100 bills as lead Democrat since being in the U.S. Senate. I am the one, not you, that has won statewide in congressional district after congressional district. And I will say, when you tried in Indiana, Pete, to run, what happened to you? You lost by over 20 points to someone who later lost to my friend Joe Donnelly. So don't tell me about experience. What unites us here is that we want to win, and I think we should have a proven winner in charge of the ticket. Let's see, and then your response, Mayor Buttigieg. This is the race for president. If winning a race for Senate in Minnesota translated directly to becoming president, I would have grown up under the presidency of Walter Mondale. This is different. And the reason that I think we need to talk about Washington experience, it goes on. Okay, so then they're trying to change the subject. Lester Holt is trying to change the subject, and Elizabeth Warren says, can I just defend Senator Klobuchar for a minute? Girl power, here we go again. This is not right. I understand that she forgot a name. It happens. It happens to everybody on this stage. Look, you want to ask about whether or not you understand trade policy with Mexico? Have at it. And if you get it wrong, man, you got to be held accountable for that. You want to ask about the economy and you get it wrong, you ought to be held accountable. You want to ask about 1,000 different issues and you get it wrong, you ought to be held accountable. But let's just be clear. Missing a name all by itself does not indicate that you do not understand what's going on. And I just think that this is unfair. And then Vanessa Alex says, Senator Warren, you're right, but Amy Klobuchar could not discuss Mexican policy either. Elizabeth Warren says, fair enough. So the point was, like, it wasn't just that she didn't know the president's name. She also couldn't discuss Mexican policy after Elizabeth Warren had made this whole speech about how, just not knowing a name is not enough to be discredited. So it's not fair to attack Amy for this. And they're like, well, actually, she didn't know the policy either. She's like, oh, fair enough. Okay. Things keep going. Joe Biden talks about he has experience. They start talking about the climate. Let's see. Warren attacks Klobuchar again. Okay, this is another interesting part. So Elizabeth Warren says, but listen to Senator Klobuchar's point. She says we have to think smaller in order to get it passed. I don't think that's the right approach here. Why can't we get anything passed in Washington on climate? Everyone understands the urgency. We've got two problems. The first is corruption, an industry that makes its money felt all through Washington. The first thing I want to do in Washington is pass my anti-corruption bill so that we can start making the changes we need to make on climate. The second is the filibuster. If you're not willing to roll back the filibuster, then you're giving the fossil fuel industry a veto over all of our work that we need to do. Again, this is one of those points where I actually agree with her more than, Bernie or others. I think we've talked about before, the filibuster needs to go. Let's see. Okay, Joe Biden takes a shot. Joe Biden transitions from the environment back to guns. At the end, he says companies should be able to be sued. They should be able to be held personally accountable, and they should not only the company, not only not the stockholders, but the CEOs of those companies. They should be engaged. And it's a little bit like, look, this is the industry we should be able to sue. We should go after, just like we did the drug companies, just like we did with the tobacco companies. The only company we can't go after are gun manufacturers because of my buddy here, but that's different. So he's taking a shot at Sanders. So finally they come to taxes, I think. Joe Biden says no taxes on small businesses, challenge China's Belt and Road policy. They're spreading dirty coal from Mongolia around to all of the countries that China's brought into the Belt and Road. Bloomberg says, I think I'm the only one here who's even started a business. Is that fair? Okay. He's kind of like talking to himself. Let's see. Sanders attacks Bloomberg. Okay, he says, all right, when we talk about a corrupt political system bought by billionaires like Mr. Bloomberg, it manifests itself in a tax code in which not only is Amazon and many other corporations, some owned by the wealthiest people in the country, not paying a nickel in taxes, we have the insane situation that billionaires today, if you can believe it, have an executive tax rate lower than the middle class. So maybe just, and then Michael Bloomberg interjects, Senator, you were writing the tax code. Why are you complaining? You wrote the code. And Bernie says, you did. You and your campaign contributions. And Michael Bloomberg says, no, you and the other 99 senators. And Bernie says, not me. You and your campaign contributions are electing people to represent the wealthy and the powerful. Michael Bloomberg said, yes, those are the Democrats. Thank you. And Bernie Sanders, well, and Republicans too, and George W. Bush as well. And Chuck Todd tries to, Senator Klobuchar, let me address. And Amy says, I was thinking there was going to be a rematch on Saturday in Vegas, and those guys should go down there.
Their local reference.
Yeah. She's been making these references to like Las Vegas gambling and all this stuff. You can't gamble with numbers that don't even exist.
Put your money like on red, and I am red.
Okay.
In this metaphor.
Yeah. Okay, then I think the next question, okay, was like, some people are saying that, so Senator Sanders, what do you mean that you don't think billionaires should exist? What does that mean? And, Bernie says what he says and stuff. And then they come to Bloomberg and they say, Mayor Bloomberg, should you exist? This is a very existential place to take a Democratic debate, I must say. We're talking about, very existential.
Very philosophical, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Should you exist? And the answer is a resounding no, of course. He says, I can't speak for all billionaires. All I know is I've been very lucky, made a lot of money, and I'm giving it away to make the country better. A good chunk of it goes to the Democratic Party as well. Is it too much?
You should be thankful for the scraps I give you peasants.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, Chuck Todd, is it too much? Have you earned too much money? Has it been an obscene amount of, should you have earned that much money? And Michael Bloomberg, yes, I worked very hard for it, and I'm giving it away. why are you giving it away if you earned it and you deserve it? It's like the fact that you're giving it away is like that's an admission almost, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Um. Okay. So anyways, that was kind of fun. He goes after Bernie. Bloomberg says, "This is ridiculous. We're not going to throw out capitalism. We tried that. Other countries tried that, and it was called communism, and it just didn't work." And Bernie, of course, wants to attack back, but they move on and stuff, and so he does come back to it later. Um, okay. So we're going to come to the next question, which is where. Um, okay, Senator Sanders, Chuck Todd. Senator Sanders, my next question is for you. Senator Sanders, our latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll released yesterday. 2/3 of all voters said they were uncomfortable with a socialist candidate for president. What do you say to these voters, sir? And Bernie's pissed off. He's like, what was the result of the poll? Who was winning? And Chuck Todd's like, the question's to you. So, well, the question was that I was winning, I think, by a fairly comfortable margin. That's not the question, Bernie, but continue.
Don't stop. Don't let me stop you now.
Yeah. He says, I think I was winning and by a fairly comfortable margin. You might mention that. But here's the point. Let's talk about democratic socialism, not communism, Mr. Bloomberg. That's a cheap shot. Let's talk about democratic. Let's talk about what goes on in countries like Denmark, where Pete correctly earlier pointed out they have much higher quality of life in many respects than we do. What are we talking about? We are living in many ways in a socialist society right now. Problem is, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. reminded us, we have socialism for the very rich, rugged individualism for the poor. And then, let's see. So hold on. Okay, this is where things go insane because this is where I started having to. Okay, yeah. Okay, here we go. Socialism for the rich, regulation for the poor. Okay, and then he mentions Donald Trump. Getting money. Getting tax back, getting things from the government in order to build his buildings for the rich. Walmart, not paying fair for their wages and stuff. So he talked about examples of socialism for the rich. There was a testy exchange with Bloomberg.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's see. Michael Bloomberg says, "What a wonderful country we have. The best known socialist in the country happens to be a millionaire with 3 houses. What did I miss here?" And Bernie says, "Well, you missed that I work in Washington, House 1." And Michael Bloomberg says, "That's the first problem." Bernie says, "Live in Burlington, House 2." Michael Bloomberg says, "That's good." And Bernie says, and like thousands of other Vermonters, I do have a summer camp. Forgive me that. Where is your home? Which tax?" And he says, or which tax cap? Forgive me for that. Where is your home? Which tax? Okay, sorry. For some reason, there's an inaudible thing here. Okay. Forgive me for that. Where is your home? Which tax haven do you have your home? And Michael Bloomer says, New York City. Thank you very much. And I pay all my taxes, and I'm happy to do it because I get something for it. And let me say, I thought that the senator next to me was half right. Elizabeth Warren says something, and he says, I agree we should raise taxes I disagree with the senator on the wealth tax, but I do agree with her that the rich aren't paying their fair share. We should raise taxes for the rich, as I did when I was mayor of New York City. I raised taxes, and you take a look at my plans. Pete Buttigieg says, no, look, it's true that I was into Bernie before it was cool. And Bernie looks genuinely thankful, and he's like, thank you. It's like he was a congressman at the time, and the qualities he admires then are qualities I still respect a great deal. And I never said that I agree with every part of his policy views then or now, but I appreciate that he's straightforward and honest about it, and he's honest about the fact that taxes will go up on anybody making more than $29,000 to fund the health care plan. Although, again, I'm a little bit vague about how the rest of the gap. And Bernie Sanders says, but you're not being honest. The premiums would be eliminated. And Pete says, but you're still raising those taxes. And when you do it, and Bernie says, I'm saving people money because they don't pay any premiums, out-of-pocket expenses, co-payments, or deductibles. They're going to be much better off. And Pete says, but where's the other 25 trillion supposed to come from? At a certain point, you've got to do the math. Well, we've got it all up there on the internet. It's a payroll tax. No, but even after the payroll tax, we still have a hole. And Elizabeth Warren saying, understanding something. And Bernie says, because we have a wealth tax. Elizabeth has a good one. Ours is a little bit tougher on Mr. Bloomberg than hers. We're going to raise it in a progressive way, which deals with income and wealth inequality, and so on and so on and so on. And Elizabeth Warren's still cross-talking. Chuck Todd's giving Elizabeth Warren 45 seconds. It's amazing to read this. Let's see. Dreamers. Oh my goodness. Okay, Bob, we're getting down to it, and we're very close here, I'm afraid.
Oh wow.
We're almost. I've got to make a murder board here to figure out. Okay, I've got 3 in one spot and 2 in another, and narrow the 5 shall meet. Okay, so Elizabeth Warren says Amy and Joe's hearts are in the right place, but we can't be so eager to be liked by Mitch McConnell that we forget how to fight the Republicans. And Amy says, seriously, Elizabeth? And Elizabeth Warren continues, Mayor Buttigieg has been taking money from big donors and changing his positions. And Pete says, that's just not true. And Elizabeth continues, so it makes it clear that where he stands for other than his own. So it makes it unclear what it is that he stands for other than his own advancement. This is the second example of Elizabeth Warren attacking everybody so that they all are like trying to attack back at the same time and looking foolish. Chuck Todd says, okay, Senator, thank you. Senator Klobuchar, go ahead. You've got this. And Pete says, I'll be very clear. Senator Klobuchar, go ahead. You've got the floor for 45. Go. Amy Klobuchar, thank you. Number one, I have repeatedly said that we have to win big. And the way we win big is by winning states like Nevada, but also winning Senate races in Nevada and Colorado and beyond. And the reason that we want to do it is to send Mitch McConnell packing. It's like, Amy, Nevada and Arizona aren't going to send Mitch McConnell packing. Kentucky will.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you look at my history, I am the one that has done that. I am the one that can lead this ticket. And just because I'm willing to talk about common ground, that's where America is. It is not with Mitch McConnell, who has 400 bills on his desk that we should pass if we get rid of him. Okay, so Elizabeth Warren says, the vice president said, I hope that Mitch McConnell gets reelected so that I can keep working with him. Well, Mitch did get reelected. He did not have an epiphany. Instead, he blocked nearly everything that Obama tries to pass, and he stole a Supreme Court seat. At this point, Biden interjects, come on. And she says, from the Democrats. So that was pretty wild. He says, on Mitch McConnell, I've been the object of his affection and the president's affection. The way he's gone after me, this new Republican Party, after me, after my son, after my family. I don't need to be told I'm a friend of Mitch McConnell's. Mitch McConnell has been the biggest pain in my neck in a long time. Long time. So that's number one. So this is where Elizabeth Warren responds. And so, no, the point is different. Here's what happened. According to the New York Times, the last time that Mitch McConnell was on the ballot, the Vice President Biden stood up in the Oval Office and said, I hope that Mitch gets reelected so we can keep working with him. And Joe Biden, that's taken totally out of context. Well, Mitch did get reelected. He did not have an epiphany. Instead, he blocked really everything that Barack Obama tried to pass. And Joe Biden said, did you ever win anything? She says, he stole a Supreme Court seat. Come on. From the Democrats. And she says, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is the thing she won, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So she went wild after him right there. Rightly so, I think.
Remember when he was like at the other debate, I got you those votes. Did a great job in your job.
Yep. Pretty bad mansplaining Joe.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so all right, the next question is about Joe also at some point said, they came after my family. It's only 60 seconds. It's not up yet. Again, so he's talking about his timing. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're coming down to the final two. Okay, Dreamers. How will you protect the Dreamers? Okay, thank you, Senator. Our next question goes to Amy Klobuchar. About 700,000 young people known as Dreamers or soñadores were brought into this country as children. are currently protected from deportation because of a program that is now under the review of the Supreme Court. If the court sides with the Trump administration, which is eager to end this protection, what exactly is your plan to protect the Dreamers permanently? Amy Klobuchar, to win, to beat Donald Trump. That's the best way to protect the Dreamers, is to have a new president. So she goes on about this for a little while. She's standing up for immigrants. She tried to explain it in her state. She found a 99-year-old Hispanic war veteran who was a dreamer who was brought over to this country. He just had to go to Canada for a night, and then he came back, and he was a permanent citizen because they needed him to serve in World War II. Now it's not so easy. The Dreamers are our future, so important in Nevada. Best way we can beat Trump, pass comprehensive immigration reform, pathway to citizenship, hardworking people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And then they come to Pete Buttigieg, which is where it gets interesting. He says, if you're going to run based on your record of voting in Washington, then you have to own those votes, especially when it comes to immigration. You voted to confirm the head of Customs and Border Protection under Trump, who was one of the architects of the family separation policy. You voted to make English the national language. Do you know the message that sends in a multilingual state as Nevada to immigrants? You've been unusual among Democrats. I think the Democrat among all the senators running for president most likely to vote for Donald Trump's judges, who we know are especially hostile to Dreamers and to the rights of immigrants. Let's see. And Vanessa Houck says, thank you. Senator Klobuchar, she says, I wish everyone was as perfect as you, Pete, but let me tell you what it's like to be in the arena. Number one, do the math. If my friend Andrew Yang was up here, that's what he'd say. In fact, I have opposed, not supported, 2/3 of the Trump judges. So get your numbers right. Da, 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 da. Let's see. So then she says, oh, the Trump judge or the Trump head I supported was like supported by the Obama administration because he was one of the few qualified people that Trump nominated or something. All right. Contested convention. They asked about the contested convention, and basically Bloomberg, Warren, Biden, Buttigieg let the thing run its course. Sanders says no, and of course we talked about this already. Closing statements. Okay, we're finally to closing statements here. Amy Klobuchar says something. Okay, Bloomberg. Let's see, Bloomberg. Mike Bloomberg says, well, you can join me at MikeBloomberg.com too if you want to, but I'm not asking for any money. Weird flex, bro, but okay. Look, he continues, look, this is a management job, and Donald Trump's not a manager. This is a job where you have to build teams. He doesn't have a team, so he goes and makes decisions without knowing what's going on or the implications of what he does. We cannot run the railroad this way. Let's see. Next one was Buttigieg. Then there was Warren. Then Biden. When Biden started speaking, there was some protesting in the audience.
Yeah, I couldn't really figure out what that was about.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know. Actually, there's probably a story about it somewhere. But yeah. And he attacks Bernie in his thing. Okay, he says, lastly, I think it's important that on day one we deal with sending an immigration bill to the desk. The only person in here that has the worst record on immigration is Bernie because Bernie voted against the 2007 bill. All right, thank you. Okay. Had in fact that, thank you. Immigration bill passed. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. There'd be 6 million members would be, okay, now American citizens. All right, Senator Sanders, you have 1 minute for your closing argument. Okay. And Bernie says, unfortunately, RULAC and among other groups, Latino groups, saw this bill having provisions akin to slavery, Joe. So I don't know what the story with the 2007 bill was, but
I was wondering about that myself. So.
Yeah, it sounds pretty complicated. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, Bernie Sanders gives, his speech about, the end of the campaign and everything, or the continuation of the campaign. And frankly, that's the end. And Oh my God. All right. Well, anyway, so that was the ninth debate in Las Vegas, Nevada, from NBC and MSNBC News. Sorry, it got a little bit incoherent there at the end.
That's okay. We'll just do some editing.
Yeah, pretty extensive editing, I guess. Yeah. Any thoughts or questions?
No, I thought that was good. I mean, it's like I said, it's kind of funny to know how it turned out with Amy and Pete. I wonder if that was like a chilly plane ride over to the Biden campaign, or if they took separate flights or whatever.
Yeah. I think a lot has been made about how little like Amy Klobuchar does to hide her disdain for Mayor Buttigieg.
Hmm.
And like I do think there's this thing where like you know like a lot of people on the left don't like Pete Buttigieg, and he's a snake or a rat or whatever. He's a rat, right? Warren's a snake. He's the
Yeah,
rat. You gotta
exactly.
understand. We got to keep our enemies straight, Bob. So, um, but my point is like oh God, sorry, my brain is so fried from trying to synthesize all this information and talk at the same time. It's like, people don't like Pete Buttigieg, and so they want to like support people are like, hey, you go girl, Amy. Yeah, you're right. Get him. Amy Klobuchar is so pissed at Pete Buttigieg, just like we all are. It's like, yes, but Amy Klobuchar is also a horrible candidate in her own right, and
Uh-huh.
Pete Buttigieg actually has some good points. Like she's trying to be up there on stage and be all pro-immigrant when she was one of these people who was talking about, voting to make English the national language, in
Hmm.
America, which is clearly a racial like, fuck you to Hispanic Americans, right? It's like
Hmm.
that's the message. That's the mess. If you're in America and you speak English, you speak English. That's normal. Your life is pretty convenient. Like you don't need to pass laws to, litigate that or whatever. So,
Hmm.
so, you know, so I'm not going to be one of these people who jumps on and says, "Yeah, you go, Amy. Come on, put Pete Buttigieg in his place." Like he's not a great candidate. He's, betrayed the things that he seemed to stand for at the very beginning. Maybe he never really stood for them. He's a politician, I suppose. But Amy Klobuchar is
Yeah.
a despicable person in her own ways, I think. So, but yeah, Pete, I'm done. We're done with them both right now. I'm pretty happy about that, unless like they hand Biden the election right now. So, yeah, it's kind of like that Alien versus Predator thing. No matter who wins, we lose
Yeah.
between Klobuchar and Buttigieg. So, yeah. Anyway, something to think about.
Hmm. Yeah. Well,
So
yeah.
today is literally Super Tuesday. In America, it's
Hmm.
super. I mean, in Korea, it's Super Wednesday right now. 53 minutes into it. So, but I'm expecting. I'm really looking forward to waking up and figuring out what the hell happened in all these various states. Although I'm
Yeah.
sure probably like we may not even still have results in some of them, like California or whatever. So.
Hmm. No, to make a bold prediction, I think that Bernie's going to do well. I would guess that would be my guess. So.
Yeah, I think like I mean one thing that could happen is the stuff with Buttigieg and Amy has just happened so abruptly, and their names may still be on ballots in some places and stuff like that, or people maybe, people complain about you know Sanders for not dropping out sooner in the 2016 campaign. It's like if your candidate drops out the day before the election, you may find yourself wanting to write them in. You're like, fuck that. This is the person I've been wanting to vote for, and tomorrow I'm voting, and now they dropped out, and you want me to vote for Biden? It's like,
Right.
no. So I don't think we know what happens. I don't know if we know where these voters are going to redound to use that word we put back into the popular lexicon in the
We're
last
bringing
debate.
we're bringing it back.
Bring it back. Yep. So, so I think that there's some chance that there's some confusion on amongst the supporters of people who were, knocked out. I think that and I think that there's also the possibility that some people who chose Klobuchar, and probably not many, or Pete Buttigieg even, like, their second choice is Bernie Sanders, and they're going to go to him. So I have no idea where this puts it, but they always say Sanders has got a high floor. Nobody knows what his ceiling is, but there's probably a ceiling out there somewhere. But I don't know what's going to happen. He was the front runner. He may still be the front runner. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got a pretty good feeling about it. So.
Yeah, California is basically going to be his probably. Knock on wood. But I think Texas is the big question. They're saying if he has a massive blowout in Texas over Biden, if it's like a double digits win over Biden or something in Texas, then it may almost just about be over.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. If Bernie, I don't mean maybe this won't equal him winning Texas in the general, but man, think about what would happen if that happened. Like they've been talking about a purple Texas for a long time, and man, if they could flip that blue, we're talking about a whole new what battleground state even means. So I'm excited to see if that happens because that'll really flip the board over as far as what people's expectations are. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, we won't know about that until November, but because it's still the primary, but yeah, I think he's got a good shot down there in the primary right now, and maybe even in the general too. I've heard plenty of Texans saying people always complain that we're perpetually going blue but never actually get there, but they're saying no. I think you'll find that it's not just one or two cities here or there. I think that you're going to find that there's more blues coming up every day or something. So we'll see what happens. Knock on wood. We've been wrong before, but hopefully so. Florida may be irrevocably lost with the Cuba stuff right now, though. I'm afraid.
Yeah, but didn't get that one last time, and it's been a while since a Democrat did, so I don't know.
Yeah. People say Florida's pretty important though for Democrats to win.
True.
Florida's very important.
True.
I think in 2016, I remember when Florida went for Trump, I was and that was one of the big moments where it was okay, this thing is definitely not going Clinton's way. It's but hopefully, he builds up a firewall in some of those, northern industrial states, the Rust Belt or whatever that Hillary Clinton was already losing at that point, I think. So.
Right.
Anyways, I don't know. I probably have got to start thinking about bed over here. I got to work tomorrow and stuff, but
right.
We got another one in the can here.
Yeah, thanks a lot for doing it. Yeah, like I said, we've only got one left, and then we'll be all caught up. And then there's just one more. I think it's on the 15th. That's all I see. Maybe after that it's TBA. So
the Ides of March.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I'm excited to see the next debate stage because it's going to be 3 people probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Finally down to a palpable.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
And if one thing I think coming up for the next debate is they say that it sounds like the crowd was stocked with moderates who are booing Sanders and Warren every chance and cheering the others and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure that'll be exasperating, but yeah. We will see how it goes.
Go the middle, yay the middle.
Yeah, we can't have all the things we really want and deserve. You're right.
I don't need it. I don't want it.
Yeah. Medicare for all who want it, and America says maybe we don't want it.
Don't you try to give me health care. Don't you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't deserve it. Something. I don't know. I don't even know what they're thinking, but anyways, it's fascinating. So continues to be a crazy race. The coronavirus thing is happening in America now. Mike Pence, the man who botched the HIV/AIDS outbreak in mid-eastern Indiana, I believe, before becoming
Scott County. Yep, had sub-Saharan level African levels of HIV infection because he wouldn't open a needle exchange for religious reasons. So.
Yeah. So he's now in charge of our outbreak response. So.
Yeah.
Good luck, America. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm planning to fly back in about a month, but I don't plan to be patient zero. So.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but he wiped his nose at the press conference before shaking hands with all the doctors, and then apparently I just read that he was at like a West Point graduation or something a couple days ago, and now one of the people he shook hands with has been quarantined.
All right. Well, anyways, Bob, I will let you get going there. Okay.
Cool.
So.
Well, hey, thanks a lot, and let's do it again soon. I'm gonna try to get more of these out on a rapid clip. So.
Okay. Yep. All right. We'll talk to you. Yeah. Talk to you soon, Bob. I'll try to start putting in work on that next damn debate. My brain definitely needs a couple of days, like recuperating time from dealing with this one.
That's fine. All right.
Yeah.
Have a good night, Chad.
All right. Yep. Bye, Bob.
Join the Rob Burgess Show mailing list. Go to tinyletter.com/The Rob Burgess Show and type in your email address. Then respond to the automatic message. Also, please make sure to comment, follow, like, subscribe, share, rate, and review everywhere the podcast is available, including iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Twitter, Internet Archive, TuneIn, RSS, and now Spotify. The official website for the podcast is www.therobburgessshow.com. You can find out more about me by visiting my website, www.thisburgess.com. If you have something to say, record a voice memo on your smartphone and send it to therobburgessshow@gmail.com. Include voice memo in the subject line of the email. Also, if you want to call or text the show for any reason, the number is 317-674-3547. Until next time.